Who is this for? Is this for your students or?
Yes, for yes.
Let's see. Dalai Lama opened the conference with a short talk, and he and other luminaries in the field of life were speaking. And I got to be able to give a presentation as part of it. And what I can do is, I think it's a really good thing to do to give people an understanding, especially what it's all the youth, like from what age group, 11 to 12-year-olds or 15 and 18-year-olds, or what age group are you appealing to?
18 to 6 years. This age group.
Let's see. I can't do that. Just trying to think of how I can get better lighting in here. It's almost 6 o'clock in the morning right now. Yeah. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, tell me when you'd like to start, and I'll just start blabbing on. I will share a link of the previous lecture. You can continue further. 18 to 35-year-olds. Okay. A little bit of shy. Okay, so you're recording.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm so happy to be here because Pakistan is getting to be closer and closer to my heart. But life is the most important thing, and Pakistan is full of life. And I've been able to go to over 30 countries to be able to express the things that I've been able to learn. Now, at 94,000 years old, you might think that I must have learned a lot. Well, yeah, I have. One of the things that I started out with was that I was an athlete. Actually, I'll start at the very beginning. I'm an identical twin. And so I was sort of wanting to have some room inside my mother's body. And so my brother and I were trying to get room for each ourselves. So we were in a way competing even before birth. And so my twin and I always were athletic. He was the brainiac of the family. He went to the University of Southern California, was a national champion once, and he was an All-American in 3 events. I was only an All-American in 1 event, but I went to the University of Colorado. We had this competition. And in the competition, I found that he talked me into entering the International Senior Olympics when I had not trained in over 11 years. You can imagine what that was like. The sad, crazy thing is, I can't say sad, it started a lot of things happening, was that I ended up winning 4 gold medals. Now, I was teaching at a ghetto school. For high school, they call it here in America. That's usually from about 14 to 18 years old. And I was teaching government class. And some of the students found out that I had won these gold medals. And they said, "How did you do it if you hadn't trained in all this time?" And I told them that I had been meditating. And I had also been eating a different diet. I eat at that time I was eating totally live, not live, totally live food. I was eating a vegetarian diet. And I said that that was basically food that allowed you to be able to have the food directly. In other words, a cow is going to eat the grains and get the nutrients and turn it into the meat and so on, or a pig, the same kind of thing. Whatever, a goat. And when you get the food directly, it has more life force. So I was eating this lively food and also taking some decent supplements, because food in the way that it's produced now is less and less nutrients in it, especially if it's not organic. It should be not organic, excuse me, it should be organic and no GMOs, genetically modified organisms. If it has genetically modified organisms, Allah made this body. Allah is a lot smarter than we are. When human beings make things that are different and put it into the body that Allah made, what does it do to the body? Think about that. So I was eating a lively, more close to the books food. In regard to the Old Testament, in the first book of the Bible of the Christian and Jewish tradition, in Genesis, it says, God gave man fruit-bearing seeds and seeds-bearing fruit as his meat, and animals as his domain. So we're supposed to take care of animals, not eat them. I eat them right now. I am not fully vegetarian anymore, but I do very little meat. And the reason is this body is healthier. Now, actually, in this lifetime, so to speak, I'm only 74. If I were to show you my abs, you'd see somebody that looks like I'm well trained. I'm only trained because of what I do with my mind and very little of what I do with my body. Because of the fires around Los Angeles right now, we have horrible air. It's like walking into a smoke factory, and it's not pleasant. So I haven't been outside to do I usually do water aerobics every day for at least half an hour to 40 minutes. Oftentimes I walk up in a trail that's just above our street where we live, because I'm in a very nice place in the sort of countryside north of Los Angeles. We have a house overlooking the San Fernando Valley, and which is about 3 miles from where I was raised. But I've lived in India, I've lived in Australia, and Sweden. I've traveled, like I said, to 30 different countries. And how I got some of this knowledge about food was because of a teacher that I had in India. And one of my best friends since 1975, I think it was a guy named Dr. Gabriel Cousins. This man, he's an Ayurvedic doctor, child psychiatrist from the Columbia Medical School. He was a Scholastic All-American in football. He is a homeopath, Reiki master, acupuncturist. I mean, I miss out on some of the things that his qualifications are. He's my doctor. And he taught me so much about nutrition. I actually consulted on his first book. And that evolved into a book called Conscious Eating. But I'm not here to just talk about food because I haven't had my breakfast yet. It's only 6 o'clock in the morning here. Excuse me while I hydrate. That's another super important thing. Hydration is getting water into your body, enough water that when you do eat, and you don't want to drink a lot when you eat, but when you do eat, the nutrients go into your body and they are transported through your body in the blood system. And if you don't take enough water, when you hydrate enough, let me put it into the positive. When you hydrate enough, you're going to be able to make it so that you have what's called blood volume. Blood volume carries all the nutrients to all parts of your body through the little capillaries that are between the areas into the whole body so that it is fully nourished. If you don't have enough blood volume, what happens? It can't carry all those nutrients where they have to go. Nutrition is very important to be a peak performer. So I told the people, a couple athletes, about nutrition, but I taught them how to meditate, and they didn't change their diet, but they did meditate every day for 3 months. One boy was a normal 6'6" high jumper. I forget what that is in centimeters. But 6'6" is a few inches taller than I am. I'm only 6'1" now, actually. I lost 1 inch. I had surgery on my back. And then within the 3 months, he jumped 7'1". That got him a scholarship to the University of Southern California, a really prestigious university here in America. He stopped doing his meditation. He never got any better. He could have been jumping higher and higher, because what meditation does is it gets you into the state of mind where all ultimate performance comes from. I'll give you an example of that. In 1984, I was presenting a program at the Olympic Scientific Congress. It happens every 4 years at the Summer Olympics, most prestigious sports sciences conference in the world. Every 4 years, the best scientists come in sports. I was presenting on meditation and the ultimate performance in sports, giving athletes tools to get into that state of mind that is super concentration, that what they call the flow or the zone. There's all kinds of names for it. But you tap into what Star Wars calls the Force. You basically tap into Allah's grace, Allah's power, because Allah has so much love for us that when you tap into that love, you feel so blissful, but also there's nothing you cannot do when you are tapped in there. The only picture in my book called Winning Ways for Living is a picture of a man. Imagine this. My arm is up straight. He's got a rack, huge rack. The rack itself weighs over 200 pounds of holding on one side 30 huge weights. On the other side, 30 huge weights, totaling over 7,000 pounds. 3 out of 5 times, he lifted them up off the standard that was holding it. He was over 60 years old. He did it after midnight. Not that the time has anything to do with it. But what can't you do when you tap into that force? An example of that in my life, I was a really good swimmer in my park pool, my local pool here in the San Fernando Valley. It was called San Fernando Park Pool. Went to county. I took second in county, LA, Los Angeles County. So it has about, right at that time, it had about 1.5 million people. That was good. Then I joined a club team. This is the best trained people in America. They train in clubs, like in football. In America, we call it soccer, which is really stupid, but that's another story. This allowed me to go and train with world record holders. We had 4 world record holders on our team. I just had started swimming on that team just a few months before. We're driving back from a workout. It's raining. We're on a freeway. It's a big freeway. We're going 65 miles an hour, but there's a curve in it. My twin, the smart one supposedly, started to fishtail. The back of the car started to go and slide. All you have to do normally is take your foot off the gas and sort of steer a little bit into where it's sliding, and you get back your normal trajectory. He didn't do that. He did the worst thing you can do in that situation. He put his foot on the brake. So we did a donut. We were spinning from 4 lanes, seeing cars coming at us. And I'm saying some very unkind words to my brother. I used all the bad English that I knew. And luckily, none of the cars hit us, but we did hit the guardrail. Otherwise, we would have been off about 30 feet down. We put $150 of damage in the guardrail in 1963. That was a lot of money in those days, because you could feed a whole family of 4 with $25 a week in those days. The car's totaled. The tow truck man comes, and he wants to tow it away really quickly because he makes money with each tow. So he said, "Can you guys pick up the car?" And I said, "Yes." And I looked at my brother, and he's standing there like this. He's in a state of shock. I picked up the car. The guy put the tires underneath it, and he towed us away. How could a 6-foot-tall, 150-pound boy who'd never really worked out in weights, strength training, pick up a car after a hard workout of an hour and a half? Just like women have done it when they've seen their child pinned underneath the car. The mind, some people's mind, other people's mind does what my brothers did. Some people's mind can get into that space, into the zone, where they don't think they can't do anything. And therefore, what can't they do? It takes practice to consciously, at will, get into meditation. This is one of the most powerful things you can do in life to improve yourself. And if you're improved, your family is improved. You don't get a little bit stressed out so easily. That's what I call the foundation practice for life. Now, I call it that because I'll send you or anybody else who contacts successsystemsinternational.net that wants to have it, a stress management write-up. It's 1-page sheet, and it has 4 quick ways to manage stress. Like if somebody cuts you off on the road and you want to say some unkind words to them, or instead of blessing them, you do certain quick things and you relax better, and it helps you go about your day in a better way. But the foundation technique, the one that is so optimum to do every single day of your life, is to meditate, to be still, to open, to hear Allah. Imagine Allah speaking with you instead of you just praying to him. What would that be like? See, I happen to be a Sufi. And a lot of people don't know much about Sufism. But my favorite poets, there's 4 favorite poets. One is Hafez, a Persian poet, Rumi, another, and then Rabia, who's a woman who is a great poetess, and also Kabir. Kabir is from North India. Just magical poetry. But it's all about that great love and force that when you feel that presence of God, you do it sometimes during Ramadan. We get that experience because of how focused we can be because of what we do. So it's very, very important. Now, the reason I learned about teaching stress management, excuse me again, this is actually a little chai. Normally I drink water, but in the morning it's chai. On the way back from staying 1 year in India, I got onto a plane that I didn't feel right getting onto. 45 minutes after takeoff, 4 guys run down the aisle, or 5 guys run down the aisle, yelling something. It was undiscernible to me. They may have been speaking English, but I don't know. They were Japanese. They were the Japanese Red Army. They hijacked our plane. About 45 minutes after takeoff, they did this. They're in the compartment up ahead, and then all of a sudden, like about 45 minutes after that, 2 hijackers came into our section, which was the back of the section. And they told us to put our hands behind our head. And he had an automatic handgun and a hand grenade, each one of them. So we did what they said. And I could tell you the whole story of that hijacking. But ultimately, I got into the deepest state of meditation I'd ever been in at that time. I've gotten to be able to be deeper, thank God, after that, but it was a great time to get in it. Allah was so gracious. As we come in for a landing, they had moved an old lady next to me. There was a door to the wing, and I was 31 at the time. This was 1977. I'm thinking to myself, I'm still athletic and strong and fast and all that. I can get out that door after we land. Then I thought, but they'll shoot at me. And I was also a bodyguard for an international celebrity at one time. And I know that anybody using a handgun, very, very few know how to use it and shoot well. So I thought, they're going to miss me and hit somebody else. There were people in front of me, people behind me, and of course, the people beside me. That stopped my thought of jumping out of the plane. But because they moved this old lady next to me and were starting to land, she starts, she's freaking out. And I grabbed her arm and I said, calm down. Everything will be okay. The Lord's taking care of us. Immediately she calmed down. I started doing what she was doing. I don't know why, but I had seen it happen in deep states of meditation for other people. People can get pranayama and kumbhak and kriyas. Those are Sanskrit words for 3 different things that I just described. I ultimately stopped breathing when they took me out of my seat. The hijackers took me out of my seat, threw me in the first class section on the floor, and I stopped breathing. The lady above me says, help him, he's having a heart attack. The hijackers gave me closed heart massage, nitroglycerin, and a shot for heart attack. That's when my mind started thinking, if I'm in a great state of meditation and they gave me this shot in this pill, the oxygen and closed heart massage was no problem. But what about this? My mind started doing this mental gymnastics. And what happened? They let me off the plane first. I got off the plane. They debriefed me. This was at Dhaka, Bangladesh. Oddly, now dig this. This is really a blessing. I get put up by the from the embassy. They put me up in one of their houses outside the Dhaka. And there was, because I got to sleep that night and finally, really sleep well. And outside their compound was the rice paddies. And I wanted to walk around. So I walked around the rice paddy and there was a small little mosque right in the middle of these rice fields. And so I went in and I was able to pray and thank Allah for getting me off the plane safely and to please help all the others get off safely too. Ultimately, everybody got off the plane. basically safely. A few people got hit with a gun because they did something the hijackers didn't think was right, but nobody got really severely hurt like you might see in the movies. So meditation, because I had 3 years of meditating regularly, about an hour a day, I was able to get into that space in a stressful situation. But again, it's like practice makes perfect. You have a copy of my PowerPoint. It has a small little video, very short, showing the domino effect. The interesting thing about the domino effect is it's the same thing, not only with dominoes, but when we put a little bit of sharing goodness, it gets another person, and that other person shares more goodness to more people. Each person shares to more people, and it gets to thousands. But in a domino, with this particular issue, it shows you 1 centimeter by 1 millimeter by 5 millimeter domino that the person has to put down with tweezers, little device to put it down so he stands it up. And then that little one hits this one when he knocks it down, and it hits a bigger and bigger and bigger. The 13th one is over a meter high and 100 pounds. If it was 29 of those dominoes, the 29th one would be the size of the Empire State Building. So when we do good actions, we do good kind works, or you can look at it this way. When we meditate every day and do special practice, like Winning Ways for Living has a bunch of different ways to meditate, and it has a bunch of things to do for your physical body, like nutrition and so on, and exercise. Certain exercises are more powerful than others. And then there's obviously the mental training and the spiritual opening. And this is what we want to do. It's body, mind, spirit, and emotions. Have any question you can put in the comment? It's more than welcome. But let me continue on the evolution of this, because after that, I started, from this high school experience when I told these people about meditation, I started teaching athletes and finding out all different ways that helped a person get to be better. Not only nutritionally, but mentally, physically, and spiritually, and so on. So to prevent injuries, you not only do stretches before exercise, but also after. And certain stretches work on certain internal organs of your body too. There's special breathing practices you can do to oxygenate your system before competition that allows you to be having more oxygen than all these other people, not illegally like these cyclists like Lance Armstrong did, but doing it legally through these special things. And so this is a very, very important thing to understand, is that, like, I take things from technology. When I made the presentation at the Olympic Scientific Congress in Seoul, Korea, I was mentioned about special devices. I created something that you listen to with headset. It has to be with a headset because it uses sound phasing for brain synchronization. So it can knock your brainwave activity into an altered state, like as if it's a sleep state, a deep sleep state, or a meditative state. There's actually higher levels of consciousness beyond those. They've measured 0 brainwave activity. This is what's called Sahaj Samadhi. Now you're basically dead. But people have been able to do that for a long time. Very, very little or none brainwave activity. They're still alive. Their experience at that brainwave activity is the exact same experience as the brainwave activity is the total different edge of this spectrum that is very, very active, the most active they've ever seen. This is called Sahaj Samadhi. Sahaj means natural, the natural deepest state of experience. That is where you are witnessing life. You're not caught up in it. Sort of like, in a way, I was watching this play of consciousnesses around me when I was on the floor in the hijacked airplane, but I was in ecstatic space. So what can we do? We can do so much when we tap inside. Because I think my experience has been Allah dwells within you as you, and see Allah in each other. When you see Allah in each other, you're in heaven. Because God is all powerful, Allah is all powerful, all knowing, and omnipresent. There's no place that God is not. So even the cabbie who's driving down the street, weaving in and out, and you're yelling at him, you cut me off, that's Allah too. He's testing you to whether you can be blessing or damning, whether you were with the force or against the force. It's interesting ways to be able to discuss it. But I look at appealing to everybody where they're coming from. This is what we get to do. It's like we have a president that doesn't seem to honor people and respect people. He denigrates people. He puts people down. I love him. I dislike how he acts. But Allah is in him. He is doing the best he can with what he was given. He had a father that just ignored him. He had a father that gave him all kinds of stuff. But what does stuff mean to a person? You want the heart. You want the caring, the compassion. You don't care about money. Money buys you stuff. And what has stuff gotten us? A horrible environment, breathing bad air, having floods like Karachi had horrible floods. Why? Because we denigrate our land. We tear down all the forests, all the great civilizations of history. If you look at it, the Greek civilization, the Indus Valley civilization, all of them died off because of their destruction of the forests, their destruction of and going into monocultures instead of the way they used to farm with animals around and with all the different ways with composting. When I lived in India, I was able to work on a compost heap that even had elephant stuff. Some people call it a bad word like shit. I mean, it's big and it's hot even in the Indian summer. I got to stand knee deep in all this and shovel it and change it and move it around. But it fueled this incredible property that grew incredible food that gave the life force of that food into the people. We have in our intestines, it's so important to eat a variety of fresh, whole food that is as close to the source as possible, unadulterated, because it has these little enzymes in it and little, even, you might say, bugs, so to speak, that allow that intestines to work to assimilate all the nutrients into your body that it can. I'll give you an example. We live on what is called Chumash land. The Native Americans were called Chumash who lived here. I have a friend who just lives about a mile away from me that he's Chumash. He helped me make our property regenerative agriculture, regenerative gardening. This fuels the soil. You don't till it, you don't turn it, you don't dig it up. You basically allow it to be fed in a different way. It will absorb rainwater better, so floods don't happen so easily. It makes it so you don't have to use any more water than you need to when it's not raining. It makes it so that it stops fires from being able to come onto the land so easily because it's so absorbent and has so much liquid in it, and so on and so forth. There's so much value to that. Now, this indigenous person has different intestinal flora and fauna, so to speak. Because I stepped out my back door, there was a snake. It's a very poisonous snake in America. It's called a rattlesnake. I saw it. I phoned my wife because she was inside and I was outside. I phoned her not to come outside. I'll watch this snake so it doesn't do anything. It's coiled up so it can jump. And it'll jump about twice its length at least. So I'm standing in a safe place, but I'm watching it. And I'm asking it to leave. I'm doing what I can inwardly, just please leave so I don't have to kill you. Because I would normally get him and usually I'd throw him down the hill or I would bring him somewhere else. But my wife, because our dog got bit on his nose one time because of a snake that was outside our front door, this was our back door, I have to kill him or I get the fire department to come and do it. So ultimately we did that. But I kept the body and I gave it to my friend and he skinned it so he could make a bracelet because I knew that was something they could do or whatever, but I also eat it because that particular snake has particular enzymes. It's like when I walked down to Ganeshpuri, this place that I was living outside a village out about 50 miles north east of Bombay, I saw a cobra go across the road. It's the fastest snake I've ever seen in my life. It moves so quickly. But this one, it doesn't move so quickly, and that's why he had to pass on. So I think I've taken enough of your time. I appreciate being with you, and I look forward to being able to share with you again. And please share that video that we had that I gave you. I sent you the link to. It's on Facebook. And if people have any questions about things or would like that stress management handout, they can contact through successsystemsinternational.net. If you want, I can type, well, you have my contact information and you can give it to the students or people that you communicate with.
Okay. So one question more. Can you hear me?
I actually do right now very well. It's the best I've heard you right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. So this is switching. I took your lecture where you mentioned switching old patterns and habits to chosen ones. Can you highlight something on this topic? How to switching old patterns or habits to chosen one?
Okay. You might get some background noise when people are starting to wake up in my house, but
Okay.
I'll teach you right now. When you have a thought that is negative, let's say I always do this or I can't do that. If it's like any negative thought, the very first time you think that thought, immediately switch it to something that is the opposite. So let's say I'm always so sad, I'm depressed. Take your hands like this. Come on, you have to do it with me. Excuse me, you get to do it with me. I'm modifying my words when I catch myself saying something negative. So always use positive words. So when I just thought, oh, I'm so depressed, I take my hands like this and I go switch. I mentally say it, or if I'm alone like this, I can say switch out loud and I move my hands just like this. So you point your fingers to each side. So you've cut this energy pattern that has been with you so long. You just cut it. Then you take your left hand facing you and you take your right hand against it. And you are going to turn it around when you say the words, why am I so happy? You mentally or out loud, you say, why am I so happy? The total opposite in the present tense. It gets to be in the present tense and it gets to be positive. And it's a question because when you ask the question, it's called an affirmation, not an affirmation. Ask and ye shall receive is one of the quotes in the Bible. When you ask God, he can satisfy the need. If you don't ask God, he may not satisfy the need. So the universe is the same thing. If you look at it scientifically, if you're asking something that you don't know or you don't have, the universe has to fulfill it because there's a vacuum. You're creating a vacuum. Now, how do you seal that? Because it's a 3-step process. We've done switch. When you think, I'm depressed, I say switch, left hand facing you, right hand against it. Why am I so happy? Then you take your right hand at the base of your torso, right near your gonads, right near your sexual organs, in front,
Yes.
right in front, and you lift up straight up like this, like you're lifting up your energy, straight up over your head and out. So it's straight up over your head and out. And you then, as you're doing this, you say, thank you, I love you. What are you thanking? You're thanking Allah, or you're thanking God, or you're thanking yourself for remembering that you're switching to make yourself better, and you are that. You are happier. Thank you for this happiness. I love you, the new you. You're loving that new you. Hey, what makes the world go round? Love. So we're doing a 3-step process, right?
Yes.
We've got these simple 3 steps. Switch.
Why I'm so happy.
Why am I so happy?
Yes.
Base of your torso. It's like you have your little finger and you're going to lift up your little finger like this and out. But it's your whole hand, but it's like as if the finger is the last thing that picks it up. That's it. Now don't go straight back down or you cut your energy again. You're lifting your energy, you're puffing your energy field out because of 2 things. That simple movement is the upliftment movement. It's like when we go, Allah, we raise our hands up, right? And this lifts our spirit. Most people don't know the subtleties. It's like, I'm very sad that I don't have a bunch of pillows underneath this so that actually I'm looking a little bit up at you. The reason I would do that, because I wasn't exactly primed for this talk right now. The reason I look up a little bit at you is so that you'll be able to receive what I have to give. You are not below me. You're at least equal or maybe a little bit above so you can receive this. I'm not a teacher. I am you. The wisdom coming from me that I've gathered all my life is given to you because you are my brother. You are my sister. You are my relative. When I give to you, I give to me. When you are better, life is better. That's how we spread the beauty when we come out of this lockdown or the problems like the floods. We use floods or emergencies to come together. There's a book called Tribe by Sebastian Junger. I highly recommend that. There's also one, Tribes. I forget the author there. Both those books are excellent for understanding the power of coming together, of collaboration, of cooperation, of teamwork. This is the new future. It's not this old capitalism. It's not this old dog eat dog competing. When you're in a team, you're trying to do you are doing the best you can, in a way competing with others on your team to be the best you can, so that all of us get to be better. And that's why team is an acronym. It means together, everyone achieves more. TEAM. So thank you very much for your time.
Yes, yes. So the next sessions, if you will be free, there are many questions, but I will take it next time.
Okay. And if you can, send me a copy of this.
Okay.
And I like to be able to share it where I can, because what comes out at this time is very special for the people who get to hear it.
Yes.
And the more it is spread, the more people take advantage. So if you know people in the villages and they have Wi-Fi connection, get this to them, please. They also learn English, which is probably their third or fourth language that they know. And when they do know another language, it also even learn even better and more. It's amazing. There's a book called Sparks, or Spark. I'm not sure. I think it's Spark. It's by Dr. John Ratty. He's a dear person, dear person. He's out of Harvard University. And I have his PowerPoint presentation because we've been working on the same issues and so on, and worked together at one time. So check out that book if you're into physical fitness and understanding how physical fitness affects the mind. It affects it tremendously. Every 20 minutes. Well, we'll talk at another time about that, how it affects the mind. Okay. Because I'm a tangentialist. I go from this tangent to that tangent, but I bring it together, hopefully in a weaving like this. Okay.
Okay.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.